Alright guys, so today we're going through the sine rule and the cosine rule. So and when you're doing these things, yeah, remember some certain stuff, right? So what is the sine rule used for? So when you start trigonometry, dealing with triangles and stuff, and you need to calculate length of sides of the triangle and angles and stuff. Certain stuff you need to remember, right? So remember for a right angle triangle, you only have like two stuff that you could use, or two methods that you could use to get either side or angle in it. The two of them are Pythagoras theorem and trig ratios. I like your sine, cos and tan, SOHCAHTOA, those sort of stuff. Like as we will use for right angle triangles. A easy way to know if it's a right angle triangle is that we'll have a right angle symbol. Alright, the right angle symbol is just this thing here, box thing here. That's how you'll know it's a right angle triangle. If it doesn't have one of that, it's not a right angle triangle. We call it an irregular triangle. It's just not a right angle triangle, right? So that is something you could look out for. If it doesn't have that little box or the right angle symbol, as we'll call it, it's not a right angle triangle. Meaning you cannot use Pythagoras theorem and trig ratios to calculate any sides or angles in it. Alright, simply enough. Then you'll go across to the irregular triangles. So obviously these triangles do not have the right angle symbol. Alright, so it has no right angle symbol, sorry. And the two methods that we could use to calculate the angle or the side in any of the irregular triangles are the sine rule and the cosine rule. Alright, so you can't use Pythagoras theorem and trig ratios for irregular triangles. Why? Because it's not a right angle triangle. And for right angle triangle, you could use Pythagoras theorem and trig ratios. Alright, so that is something to keep in a frame of mind as to what methods you could use, what type of triangle. So recap, for right angle triangles, we could use Pythagoras theorem and trig ratios. I like SOHCAHTOA, right? And for irregular triangles, we could use the sine rule and the cosine rule. We cannot use Pythagoras theorem and trig ratios. Alright, so that's it. So what exactly is the sine rule, right? So the sine rule, I'll start off by showing you how to label an irregular triangle, right? So an irregular triangle, they are pairs, like it's pairs. So a side and it has a corresponding angle to it. So we could use A, B, and C. So I like to label my sides first, right? So we'll call this side side A, this side B, and side C. Alright, so we have those things going there. So now all we have to do is we have to get the corresponding angle for the side. And all we need to do to make it simple, let's say we start from A. What angle is parallel to the side? So just draw a line. Oh, look right there. Alright, as well as on B. Look, that's the angle for B up there. And C. That's the angle for C right there. That is all it is. And when you draw any symbol for it, it's just like a little hat on top. And this is B hat. Well, this is, sorry, don't not B hat, is A hat. Alright, so that'd be A hat, and this is B hat. The hat just means the angle at. Right, so in this case, in English, that would be the angle at B, and then the angle at C, then the angle at A. That is all it means. Alright, that'll hat, the angle at. Alright, and that's how you label a regular triangle. You first start off with labeling your sides, like normal A, B, C. If it is whatever, let's say you want it. You just normally use A, B, and C. Alright, and we need to get the corresponding angle for that side. Just use your line, just draw a line, and you'll see what angle literally looking at or corresponding to that side. Alright, and that's how we label it. Very simple. Alright, but this is what the sine rule is. So the sine rule goes like this. The sine rule is basically just a lot of ratios of sides and angles. I call them pairs because it's easier for me to understand, right? Each a pair is basically a side with its corresponding angle. That's what a pair is. So And all the sine rule is just ratios, equivalent ratios for each pair. So it goes like this: A over sine the angle at A is equal to B over sine the angle at B, and that is also equal to C over sine the angle at C. So that is the sine rule, right? Just to recap, the sine rule is A over sine the angle at A, which is equal to B over sine the angle at B, which is equal to C over sine the angle at C. The sine rule is basically, as I said, all the equivalent pairs of the irregular triangle, right? The A pair, the B pair, and the C pair. They're all equal to each other because they're equal. Kind of redundant, but they are equal, right? They just corresponding. So that is how you set it up. So we learn how to label the irregular triangle. Try to face out, draw the triangle, label the sides, and practice getting the pair of them. Each side must have a corresponding angle. Right? And obviously we know triangle has 3 sides. So if it have 3 sides, it have 3 angles. Yeah? Something on the matchup. Alright, nice. Let's continue. Nice, so let's go into how to actually do the question. Alright, so when to use the sine. So something that we need to remember is you see at the bottom here. To use the sine rule, we must have at least, keyword being at least, one side with its corresponding angle. Oh, we'll call this a pair. So we must have at least one pair. Right? At least one pair. If you have more than one, well, you could use the sine rule, but we just need one and we good. Alright, so let's go through this now. So that's like how we learned to label it before. So we can label this A, we can label this B, and we can label this C. Alright? So let's get the, well, we know already what the angle will look like. So this will be A hat, this will be B hat, this will be C hat. And you could always check it. This here, B up there, and A there, right? So that's like how we did before. So that's how we label it. That's the first step, labeling it, right? But anyway, remember to use the sine rule, we must have at least one side and a corresponding angle. Always remember that. We must have a pair. Always remember we must have a pair. Going into example now. So, and you'll see this implemented, right? But always remember, after you label it, you must always look to see if you have a pair, meaning that you have a known side and a known angle corresponding to that side. You must have a pair. Once you have a pair, you can use the side, or at least one pair. Alright, so some steps you need to remember. This not only for sine rule, this for trigs and a whole. Label the triangle. Always label the triangle when you're doing trig ratios with triangles and stuff, right? And then in this case, since we're dealing with irregular triangles, we need to look for a pair. Because if we have at least one pair, we can use the sine rule. Well, if we don't, well, obviously by default, we could use the cosine rule. Alright, hint, hint. Yeah, and then third step, use the equation, and once you have the equation, you solve. Very simple. Label it, you must label it. Look for a pair. Once you look for a pair, you'll know whether you're using the sine rule equation or the cosine rule equation. Once you get your equation, you plug in the values that they gave you, and you solve for what you need to solve for. And that's it. Alright, just to recap. To use the sine rule, we must have at least one side with its corresponding angle, aka a known pair. Alright, so let's continue with our question and top of the video. Alright, so we have this. So step one, we need to label the triangle, right? So let's label it. So we label this A, B, and C. Normal thing. So this will be the angle at A. This will be the angle at B, but it's kind of weird. So just put it here. Sorry, angle at C. So I keep mixing it up. And then this will be the angle at B. Alright, so we label it. Kind of 20% done. So after we label it, we need to check and see if we have a pair. All right, this is how I like to do it. So I like to circle. So we have B. So look at B. Look at A, look at C. So let's start with A alphabetically. A, do we have a side? A known side? No. Do we have a known angle? Well, no. Or by default, if you don't have a side, you don't have a pair, so I can just skip because I need both of them. If I'm missing one, it's not a pair anyway, so it makes no sense I'm going through this. But just for understanding purposes, A, do I have a side for A? Do I have an angle for A? B, do I have a side for B? Yes, 5. Do I have a corresponding angle for B? Yes, 30. That's a pair. Yeah, so keep that in mind. Let's go to C for understanding purposes. So for C now, well, C has the pair that we want to solve for. But looking at it, 40, and we don't have a side for C. But we want to solve it, but that's okay. We have our pair, which is what we wanted in the first place. So we can't use the SINE. Alright, the second thing, equation. So we slap down the equation. So the equation is A on sine the angle at A is equal to B over sine the angle at B, and that is equal to C over sine the angle at C. So that's the equation. Next thing, let us plug in the values they gave you, okay? Let us plug in it in. So A, since we don't have anything for A, I mean, I could just leave it out, okay? So the equation will just end up being B on sine the angle at B, which is equal to C on sine the angle at C. Nice. So plug in values. So we know B, what B is. Capital B is 5. Sine the angle of B, so sine, and the angle of B is 30, which is equal to C, which we don't know, name X, and sine, and the angle at C is 40. Right here, C, 40 degrees. Alright, so to solve this, we need to do something called cross multiplication. If you haven't heard of it before, I'll leave a link to that video in the description, and you can click on it and look to go and watch it. But I'll just speed through that step because I'm not going to really explain how to cross multiply in this video. That's not what this video was for. So we just cross multiply, multiply any crosses. So x by sine 30 and is equal to the other one, 5 sine 40. So we can simplify this in our calculator. So sine 30, I believe, is 0.5. Let's see. Yes, so 0. So you end up with 0.5 x. What is 5 sine 40? 5 sine 40. So 3.2. My calculator is in degrees, just in case you get different answers. So if you calculate in radians, you will get different values. So just let you know, my calculator is in degrees. So 3.21. Alright, so therefore x will just be 3.21 divided by 0.5, and you'll get the answer as 6.42. Alright, that is it. So x or C is 6.42. Alright, so just to recap, when you're doing these questions, the first thing you do, you label it, label the triangle, just like how we did it before. After you label it, you look for the pairs. So start, you must have a side with corresponding angle. Once you have that, you can use the SINE. For the third step, you write down the equation. Most of the time, you will have a side that you don't have any values for, so you can just leave it out. Alright, but most of the time, you'll always boil down to the pair and the pair that you want the value for. Alright, so you always boil down to those most of the time. Alright, after you get the equation, you plug in the values that they gave you. And in this case, you have to cross multiply. and you just solve for the unknown, X or whatever letter they gave you in the question. Alright, and that is the end. So that is the end of the video, guys. And that's how to use the SINE rule. So I hope it helped, and we'll talk next time. Later.